Now it's time to do a deep dive on the design step of your campaign. Our design editor is just like most HTML editors that you've seen, except we've broken our campaigns into sections, and we call them content blocks. The reason for that is we have mobile responsive design right out of the box, and the easiest way to do that and design to that is to have boxes that just kind of jog over to the right when it's on a large screen, and then they jog under the other blocks when you're on a mobile. So picture them as like stacking blocks that can expand and contract to fill the screen that they're being displayed in. So I'm going to go over those blocks right now. Once you get this, you'll understand the layout of our campaigns. So what you're looking at now, first of all, is the home screen. All of the different screens of the campaign you're using are going to be displayed right here, and you can switch between them. The header is displayed on the home screen always, and the header is displayed on the thank you screen only if you enable that. So we'll get to that in a minute, but just so you understand the navigation up here, some of our campaigns, like if you're doing a photo contest, it'll have a home screen, it'll have a gallery screen, and a thank you screen when they submit it. So there's a whole number of different screens that you can preview and make edits to. Continuing on the top here, the navigation, you've got an undo button if you make a mistake, and this even works months later. So we store 6 or 7 of your previous sessions. Every time you save, it's going to create an undo restore point. When this is gray, it means that there's no changes made, so you don't need to save. But we do auto save, but if you feel more comfortable clicking the save button, that'll guarantee that it's saved what you've done. Over here, you can change the preview mode to mobile preview, so you can see how it looks in a mobile device, or over here, the PC preview. Now, let me show you those content blocks. The very top one is going to be your header. So see the black lines that appear when I hover within the header space? So this is your header content block. On the left side, this is called the above form content block. And this is your form. So this isn't really a content block, but I just want to show you this section. And you'll notice that it still has the black line around it, just so you know that this is the form section. There's also another section that can appear below here. We don't have it enabled right now, so it's a good chance for me to show you how to enable and disable content blocks. But there's another one called a below form content block. And the way you, let's show you how to do this. If you click anywhere within the content area, you'll notice that this content area auto-expanded. So I could have clicked it, but it's just a shortcut that we've added for you guys. Whenever you click in an area, it's going to expand the options for that area on the left. That way you're not hunting around, okay, which section is this? What did they decide to call it? Just click in the area, and in general, that's going to allow you to either edit it or open up an options area on the left where you can make changes. So these are the content blocks. We've already gone through all of these, except for a couple that I want to show you now. Below submission form, when you check that box, it's going to add another box. So see this little area here? So now I can click on that, and I've got my HTML editor, so I can do things like add a countdown timer. And when you create a countdown timer, you can change when the end time will be. The default usually works just fine, and it's contained within that content block. We try to squeeze things in so they fit, so you're not spending your time resizing things like images, countdown timers, and other contents. So now we've just added a countdown timer below our submission button. We also have a footer that we can enable or disable. So the footer is a content block that runs across the entire bottom. So you'll notice it's not split up on the left side and the right side like the other ones are. The footer goes across the entire bottom. So there's a couple ways to hide an item. You can click the little hide icon right here, and all that does is it unchecks it. So now if I click in the content area again, you can see the footer is unchecked. So you can either toggle that here or over there. So now that we have those basic principles, I can show you other ways of changing the layout. You'll notice that the above submission form, which is this here, the reason it's called that is currently it's in split form. It's called display separate column. If I disable that, instead of having that above submission form item in a separate column, it's going to stack above the form. So now we've got a full width content block here that stacks below the header. So we've got a header, a full width content block above the form, and you've got a full width form now that's allowed to expand much wider. And below that, we have our below submission form, which, as you can see, is now allowed to go full width. And once our footer is enabled, of course, that will also be full width as well down here. So this is a very attractive layout, and it's a very popular one. However, when you do separate column, it may not look as trendy, but one of the really great things about it is it brings your form, your submission form, a little higher. And in marketing, it's really about conversions. And if you want more conversions, don't bury your form. So I recommend you use the split layout if you want to get more people to sign up. You care more about that than you do about the design and the look and feel. So now that you understand all of the different content blocks, I'm going to get into some of these options on the left. The first option is to import a design, and this is very powerful. There's two templates that you can choose from. You can import from all of our templates. So when you click select template, you probably recognize all these templates from when we created the campaign to begin with. Any one of these can be used, and when you select it, it will apply this to the entire campaign. So you'll notice that it still says Ferrari and giveaway. Here's why. I did not choose to import the content blocks, only the style settings. So that pulls in the new background, but it left my content blocks intact. So that's what you'll want to do if you want to save all of your content blocks and don't want to pull in all the content block information from the other one. Now you can also import from a previous campaign, and this gives you a lot more options. So let's say you already created a great campaign last year, and you want to import that one and use that design that you already spent time on. You can just do that by selecting the campaign that you want to import and clicking import. Just keep an eye on all these checkboxes. It's going to literally import and replace your entire design if you leave these checked. So only check what you want to import. Page background. Now there's a few different ways that you can use our backgrounds. You can have absolutely no background at all. You can have a full screen image, and you can select that background image here by clicking that. You can repeat the image. If it's not a massive one, you can click repeat image and then have it kind of stack, and it'll just repeat down the page. Image in fixed position is the default, and what happens there is as you scroll up and down, notice how the person in the background isn't moving. Well, if you delete or if you select this other one where image scrolls with the page, then he'll move up and down as you scroll. You can apply grayscale and make your background color go away, or slightly just mute the colors. To give it that effect, you can blur the background image, and this works great if you have like a landscape photograph, for example, of a lake or something like that, but you don't want it to be so literal. You can blur it, just give it that nice natural effect. And you can also apply an overlay. So if you change this color, let's say to a hot pink, and then you start increasing the opacity, look what it does. It can just start, well, let's see, I didn't select pink yet. Let me do that. So I'm going to select one of those pink colors, and then watch what happens when I increase the opacity. See how it just slowly starts washing everything with pink. So you can do that to a photograph as well and get some really cool effects. So you'll want to play around with that until you get the right look. Another thing you can do is check image behind campaign area only. I'm going to click on this just so you can see what it does. Basically, this will apply this. Instead of applying it to the entire background, it'll apply it only behind the content area, which is limited to like the width of the header and the width of the main body area. So, like when you turn on an overlay, you can kind of start getting a feel for, see how the background is white now? There is no background image anymore. The image is only appearing behind what we have here in the content area. So this is more of an advanced one. I generally don't recommend using it. The best one is going to be your full screen image, so it fills the background, and that looks fantastic. So I'm going to go to the header area. So the header, there's a few different ways of handling your header as well. You can have the page background image containing the header. So with that, it's going to allow you to have, like instead of having an HTML form header right here where you can click inside and make edits to it, the page background image contains header is just going to eliminate this box completely, but it's going to space out this content area and move that down the page a certain amount of pixels that you specify. You can add a header image and just upload an actual image instead of having a design here that you can click in and make changes to. So if you had a designer create a really beautiful JPEG image for your header, you'd want to select this and upload that JPEG. Don't worry, we'll make space for it. We'll move the form and the above form content block down low so it accommodates it. The design header is the default for pretty much all of our campaigns, and it's what I recommend you use. This is what allows you to just click inside and make changes. You've got your own little HTML area to play with here. The space around contents, you can see what happens here. When you turn this up, we just add padding around the left, right, and bottom of all the contents of your header and just spaces it out a little more. The header height, you can have it expand to fit, which is our default. I highly recommend this, or you can have a fixed height header. Some of our designs will have fixed height selected. Some of them have expand to fit. Generally speaking, just leave it alone because our templates are designed to work great in mobile and desktop. So leaving it to the setting that we have in here will ensure that it looks good on both devices. Background color, you can specify a different background color, but just keep in mind if you're using a background image, it will never be seen, especially if you use like the fixed image and you've got a large enough image to fill the screen. This would kind of be a backup. So if the image was too small where it's not covering the entire background, at least it will show a color instead of white. And you can change the background color too of your header. You can also have no header at all. So when you select no header, it's just going to move your content area all the way up to the top. So let's see here, the header area background color. You'll notice that the header itself on a viral sweepstakes is the header area. It completely covers it. But there are other campaigns like a photo contest where you've got a navigation button that sits between the content area and the header area. And the navigation button would be submit your own photo. It would be a button there if you're on the gallery. And if you're within the submit photo area, then it would say view photos. So that navigation button has its own background area, and that's where you would want to play around with your header area background color to make sure it matches up nicely with whatever header color you're using. And you can change the opacity of the header area background color too, because transparent is pretty popular right now. And when you have it on 0, whatever you have as your background image and color is going to show through. Hide header area on thank you page or hide header on thank you page. I highly recommend leaving this checked because what will happen here, especially if you have a large header like we have here, you'll notice on the thank you screen, it's gone. And it can get directly into this part that has their entries and their days left. If I uncheck that, it's going to show a massive header and they're going to have to scroll down to see the important information on the page. The content area. So we've gone through the content block portion of this. Each campaign will be slightly different. See this Your Entered banner? This is where you would select that header image. So you can change that, or you can change it to design a banner. And then you can just click inside here and use our HTML editor to create whatever you want. The space around content blocks works just like the other one that I showed you, where you can, I'll go back to the home screen, where you can add some more space, like over here in your HTML area. If I increase this, notice that it gives us just a little more margin, and it just depends on the look you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to change this. This looks like it needs to be centered. Done. All right, so getting back into the content area. The content area has its own background color, as you can see, and I'm going to show you what happens when I start changing that. I'm whitewashing it by using the white color and increasing the opacity, whereas I can wash away the color and go to 0 on the opacity. So now it's going to have a different look. So notice how the entire background is showing through. I'm going to leave it like this. I think that looks a little bit better. You can change the font. You can change the text color, the bonus challenge background color, and the bonus challenge text color, and the leaderboard. There's a lot of different ways to configure the text and the text color. So you'll want to play around with that if you want to make something custom. So edit the shell. The shell is the part that goes around all of the content blocks and the header area. So the shell kind of runs, this is about the border. So between the content area and the background is a shell. In general, you're going to leave that empty. Some people want to get a nice border around it and really confine it. So what you'll see here, see the gray? Like, let's make this outer globe black so you could really see it. And then you can have a different pixel glow. So if you want to have a drop shadow where you really frame your campaign area behind a background, this is a great way to do it. Every designer has their own way of doing it. So this is, again, something you'll just want to play around with. I'm going to turn off the border. Edit the buttons. This is where you can change your button colors, size. So you'll definitely want to play around with the buttons, and you can also change the main submit button text right here. Edit the form. It's just as it sounds. Here's where you can change the look and feel of your form. So notice how we have like a solid white background. You can actually make these transparent very easily by going to your edit form. And let's do this now. So currently we have the labels inside the field. And what I want to do now is go to the opacity. So I'm going to change the opacity to 0. But what I want to do is put a border on it. So the border color, let's make these dark gray. And then change the pixel thickness to 1. And what that'll do is give us a nice thin outline, and it still has a nice background color on hover. If you want to change the on hover, you would just change it here. So you could select a different color than white if you wish. So it's starting to look pretty good. You can also move the labels above the field. I like them inside the field because it keeps the form a little more condensed. And edit widget. So this is where you're going to change how your widget functions. Okay. If you want your widget to appear on your blog, for example, or your website, you can have this campaign pop up or slide in, and this is where you're going to configure it. You don't need to configure all of them. Only the widgets that you plan to use will need to be configured. So I'm going to start with the iframe. In general, I prefer automatically resizing my iframes. That way, wherever you place it on the page, if you place it like within a div or something on your blog, it's going to fill that div. It's going to fill the container you put it in. The tab, this is going to be a little sticky tab that stays on the right side of the screen, exactly where you place it. So from here, you're going to select what's the color of the tab, what's the color of the text, where do you want it positioned? Do you want it 50 pixels from the top or from the bottom? You can also set it to open automatically, only on the first visit, and only 2 seconds after the page loads. And then you can have it automatically close 2 seconds after that. So the net result of this would be somebody comes to your page, the tab will slide out and expose the entire campaign. After 2 seconds later, it'll slide closed. So it's just kind of a peekaboo effect, and it's really effective. Definitely grabs attention. Pop-up, same thing. You choose what the fly-in effect is. If you want to delay the pop-up, until they intend to exit the page, just click here. Now what'll happen is when they move their cursor up to leave your page, it's going to pop up and tell them, hey, wait a minute, join our sweepstakes. There's also a button. You can upload any button image you want, and we'll give you code to paste that button anywhere on the page that you want. When someone clicks it, it'll pop up the campaign. So we are not going to select an image. We're going to leave it on iframe, and let's move on to edit language. So this is where you can translate anything you want. So you can go in here. This doesn't have to be translated to a different language. Let's say you don't want please enter email. You don't like how that looks. You want to say, please enter your email address. That's it. Since this is checked on, it's now going to change this to this. And these are categorized. There's a lot of language in here. Like this is categorized under alerts. So now your alerts will say that. But if you do want to translate to another language, I recommend using our auto translate feature and just look at all the different languages. We have over 100. Just choose the language and it will automatically convert everything to that language for you. Once that's done, you'll be able to go in and make edits for your particular dialect. So advanced settings. Oops. Let me make sure I save this. Don't want to lose my translation. So I'm going to click on advanced settings. This is the final section. So from here, you can do things like block search engine indexing. If this is a private campaign, you can change the title. And here's why this is important. When people share your campaign on social media, it's going to grab the page title and description and put that on their social media feeds. So you want to make sure that your description and title are very detailed. Also, your keywords, you might as well put that on there, and we'll add SEO keywords so people find your campaign. As we scroll down, this page image, well, that's what's going to show up in their social feed. Let's say they share your campaign URL to Facebook. Don't you want it to look nice in their Facebook feed so a lot of people come to your campaign? If so, you'll want to make sure to go in and select a really good page image. The favicon is that tiny little thing that appears at the top of your browser next to the URL. Well, why not use a 48 by 48 pixel of your brand, your logo? That's where you would upload this. Finally, we have tracking and retargeting tags. So you can add it in either place. You can add all campaign screens or only on the thank you campaign screen. So this is where you would add things like your Facebook pixel, where it can generate an audience for you for retargeting. You also might want to put things in here like conversion tracking. If you have something other than Google Analytics that tracks your conversions, go ahead and paste that code here, that script, and we'll fire the script every time somebody makes it through to the thank you screen. Add CSS is really advanced. If you are an advanced, experienced designer, we do have CSS available, and when you inspect elements, we do have element names for everything on our campaigns. So you are able to add some additional tweaks to your design using CSS. Things like, if you want to hide elements that we display, go ahead and add those here. And finally, the company name. In general, by default, we're just going to pop in your company name. But if you're running this for a different company, you can change that here. And this will show up in places like, we automatically put terms and conditions in certain places. Like if they're going to record a video testimonial, we want to make sure you get permission to use that and display that in places like YouTube or on your website. So we're automatically going to pop that company name into that exclusion so you have license to use their user-generated content. So that's the main reason why you'd want to populate this. So you are a design expert now. So looking forward to seeing what you guys put together with your next campaign.